steady and true, choosing each other in all that we move.
So we are back with Joy and Jessica Phillips in part 2 of a 4-part series of Love in Motion. Today's topic is the hard part, real relationship challenges. There's relatability and credibility. Some of these questions that I'm going to ask you, we've touched on a little bit. If you want to touch on them again, you can, but it may segue into the next question. So my first thing is, what was your biggest challenge as a couple, as a same-sex couple? Because that alone brings challenges. Just being a couple brings challenges. But when you put everything else in the mix, I won't say maybe challenges for you guys because you loved each other, but what has been your biggest challenge as a couple?
I think for me, it was what my family would think, because at this point, I think there were some people that maybe speculated, but I never had that coming out the closet. I never said, hey, it was like, hey, here's Jessica. And, that was kind of the thing. It was, so I say my family, mostly my mom, because I do, I love my mom, to no end. So, but I also wanted happiness for myself. I wanted my happiness. And so I had to deal with a lot of my hurt, Jessica's hurt. But and it's one of the things too that I can say that that you're in a committed and a loving relationship, because some of the things are challenges that Jessica faced in regards to that. Me personally, I probably would have left if I was Jessica. But she stayed. And not only did she stay, but she provided me with great counsel in regards to things when I was trying to force things. Jessica would be like, hey, let's just do it like this. And it's going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. I understand. Not that she wasn't hurt, not that it didn't bother her, but she also realized how important that my family was to me. It didn't negate how I felt about her and the love I had for her, but she understood, hey, at this point, we're just going to have to make some separations. But to see her and my mom now, you wouldn't even know that we went through, or that was even a thing. But I also feel like that's a big part, and with Jessica saying, hey, we can do it this way, we can make it work this way. And and so but to me, I would say that was a huge challenge, because I think as soon as her grandparents, her mom, and they got an opportunity to meet me, we talked and stuff like that. I think they were like, okay, their biggest thing was, just don't hurt her, take care of her, but they love me, right off the bat. So that wasn't an obstacle, but I think on my end, that's what I would say was a challenge.
Okay. I agree. No, I agree. But I'll also say communication. Because again, I was young. Actual first real type of relationship I would consider, compared to what I had before.
Young and sheltered, because you already said you were sheltered, so that makes a difference too.
Yeah. So I wasn't really used to communicating my emotions fully. And also too, with building this relationship with her, I don't want to hurt her feelings with,
Mm.
okay, you done got on my nerves because of you forgot to put the clothes up or what. That's minor, but I can't think off the top of my head right then. But just fully sharing my emotions and letting her know that I made her mad or I didn't like the way that she did something because I didn't want her to be mad at me or hurt her feelings. And so sometimes
Mm.
sometimes it caused us, I think what our first, because we didn't argue, which surprised me. Our first argument was the fact that we didn't argue.
Yeah.
That was our first argument.
And we
Okay,
don't.
explain that. Tell me more about an argument about not arguing. Tell me more about that.
It was kind of my fault. I don't know what was going on. I was like, we don't argue or something. I don't think that argue was the word I was looking for. It was just like, I think what I was looking for is like it was a matter of Jessica is not, she's very indecisive and she's not like, I literally have to be unconscious if she gonna make a decision. And then I'm still concerned if she's gonna make the decision. So I think it wasn't the thing, but my thing was we're not talking like it's just you just want me to decide everything. And I think I was just frustrated. And it's just like, so I think argue was not the word at the time, but I couldn't think of
Mm.
anything else. So that's how it came out. And
Back
so
into the communication.
yeah. So then but it's just, arguing is just not something we do, which I think a lot of people who know us, they think that that's strange. So y'all don't know because that's a waste of energy. I got other things, not to say that people who argue, in relationships, but we don't raise our voice at one another. We don't yell. I think a lot of it, we call it silent fighting because Jessica just stops talking and I stop and I'm just like, it's no reason until I know she's at a point where she will actually listen and hear what it is that I'm trying to communicate. So just, we'll stop talking for a minute, then I'll look at her and I say, so we done silent fighting, and we'll laugh and we'll talk about whatever it is and we just move on, because I didn't like it when my parents argued. That bothered me. So I knew, then I didn't want to, that's not a relationship that I wanted to have with, bickering and, and all that kind of stuff. Just not something, it makes me feel uneasy. So I knew that I didn't want that for myself. And that's not, and like I said, that's not me, pointing my finger or turning my nose down at couples who do, because people have to communicate with what works for them. This is what works for us.
And because Jessica doesn't talk much, I can only imagine your frustration of not knowing what she's thinking. And she said earlier that a lot of times she wouldn't tell you things because she didn't want you to be mad. So that's where the lack of communication that you spoke about comes from, Jessica. So this was 20 years ago when you all started out. So things were not as open as they are now. Was there ever a moment, no matter how brief or how fleeting it was, that you weren't sure you were going to make it? And if so, how long into the relationship did that moment happen? And if there wasn't ever a moment, that makes it even better.
I think it was one for me because I left the house.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
And it was just, but it was the
When I
communication.
had my moment.
It was, it was just the communication. And I'm just like, because my thing is this with Jessica. We've been together long enough. I know when something is bothering you. And all I have ever asked of Jessica, I get that, because to know her family is to understand why, because they don't talk. And you would think that they hated each other if you didn't know them. Because for me, I come from a family, we hug each other, we say we love, all of that. That's not something that they did. I think her grandfather, who we just recently lost, was probably the most affectionate. So And I was so frustrated, and I was over it, or I thought I was. And so I left and I went, and that's why it's so important to have great friends, but also people who support your relationship.
Mhm.
And so I went to a friend of mine's house, and I was talking to her, and she listened. She did, and then when I was done, she was like, "Okay, so go back home because you and Jessica not breaking up. I don't, she wasn't entertained. She listened to what I said, but then she was like, "Okay, so
This is
all right,
foolish.
you got it, yeah. So you got it out." So then, and of course, my flesh wasn't satisfied. I heard what she said, but I'm still man. So I called my oldest sister, Tamara, and I was talking to her. I was crying, and she listened, and she said to me, she said, "You love Jessica. Jessica love you. This is what being in a relationship, a marriage. This is what it is. Sometimes you feel like this, but this, And she just kind of gave me sounding advice, and I think I talked to her all the way back home, and so I was in the parking lot, and I was just sitting in the car, and she said, "So where are you at?" And I said, "I'm home." She said, "Okay, and just go upstairs, give Jessica a hug, kiss her, and y'all are gonna be okay." And that was that. And but as I sit and think about it, I really wasn't going nowhere. I was just having a temper tantrum. You know, but it was warranted, because I was frustrated, and she recognized that, but I wasn't really going nowhere. I thought I was, but I would, I could live, on my own. Everybody, you can live by yourself, but I don't see myself living without Jessica just because I'm mad because she won't talk, or something like, uh, but so I think that was, yeah, that was that.
That was like what, two
That was,
2 years in?
no,
Less than that.
that was like we stayed in Irving. This was like,
Oh, okay. So then okay. That was,
yeah, I was just faking anger. I wasn't going.
So it's
I
funny
was,
that
I was, I was proving the point to you. I know what you're talking about, but this
okay,
was,
so
I think,
that time.
yeah,
it was
this
too
was,
that time.
yeah, this was. So what are we? 2026. We were still in Irving. So 2019.
Okay, so it was long time into the relationship.
Yeah, it was a while, which is
So
why
it's,
I wasn't going nowhere. I was playing.
so what's funny to me is that you went to a friend, your friend told you to go back home, but you weren't satisfied with her response. So you called a second person, hoping you were going to get a different response. And that second person told you the same thing. Take your butt back home because this is foolish, is basically what both of those people said to you.
Yeah.
And so I'm surprised you didn't call yet another person because you were seeking a different answer
Yeah.
than what you got, because your flesh wanted you to stay mad, just like you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you went
But-
back.
Yeah, but I knew, and it's like, and that's why I said you have to know, because I feel like anybody that I had reached out to at that point were gonna say the same thing. They were
Right.
gonna let me get it out, and then they were gonna say, "Okay, so what we doing? You gonna sleep in the car? You going upstairs? Like, what are you gonna do?" But that's why I say it's important to have, the right people that support your relationship and people who know how much you care about each other, because they're always going to navigate you in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
because
true.
we can't we can't go anywhere without the other next to us, without somebody saying, we were at the club like a couple of months ago. Jessica had gone to the restroom, and I was sitting there, and somebody came up. Not how you doing? Where Jessica at? She in the restroom.
Can she go potty?
But I'm like, but in my mind, I'm thinking, but I can't come out by myself. I'm an adult, but it's also too, I think it's the precedent we've also set for people. It's very rarely are you going to see me without her, and vice versa.
Mhm.
we're, close, you know, because we have our friends, best friends, but we're each other's constant, we're each other's, everything. So, and we didn't have anything when we started out in this relationship. And so everything we did with each
Get
other. So
together.
that's kind of
Mm,
our thing,
mhm.
everything new that we do it together.
So listening to you all's story reminds me of how people like to say sometimes love isn't enough. But hearing you all speak, that gives that statement a whole different twist, because it sounds to me like in your relationship, love has been enough. Am I correct in that analogy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think if we were dependent on other things other than love, I don't think that we would have made it as far as we have. Um, we always think about that Anthony Hamilton song that he sings. It's like, if we were, when he describes all the things, even if we can have this,
Mhm.
it's about love. And that's what it does. It get frustrating, and been frustrating when we couldn't do certain things that we wanted to do. Absolutely. But I mean, in everything that I've gone through, I wouldn't want to go through this phase of my life without Jessica. She makes it easier to, if we weren't in a position to go on vacation and do certain things, I would be okay with just being with her, and I think that's sometimes it's a source of contention for her, because I buy things for Jessica all the time. But that's because she doesn't ask for anything. I just,
Mm,
because that's what I want to do. That's how I show my love for her. Um, and so it comes to birthday or Christmas. Well, I didn't do as much for you as you did for me. And I'm just like, but I'm a shopper. I shop all year long. So
mhm.
so she has to tell me, like, around my birthday, don't buy nothing. Okay, don't buy nothing. Don't, because I just, every time she comes, it's a package at the door. It's an Amazon. I'm buying
Those
something.
candles.
Yeah. But if I'm buying something for me, I'm buying something for her. So, but and so I always tell her, I say, so you can't really compare that to all the things that she does for me. We work at home together. So I have food cooked for me 3 times a day if I want it, you know. So it's like all the things that you do for me can't compare to you buying me,
Right.
this or that, because I mean, whatever I'm buying, I still have to be able to eat. And if you're not cooking, I'm probably not gonna eat. So I'll take the food over the whatever you're trying to get, because I can just buy that another time. So yeah.
So my final question is a two-part question, and Jessica, I need you to talk first this time because we have to run out of time if we let Joy keep talking. So it's a two-part question. What did you have to unlearn, and who had to change first? Or let's just say, who changed first? I mean, either way, who had to change first or who changed first? So whichever way you want to apply that question. Because we just don't part two, and we still got two more parts to go.
I feel like it was me. I had to change first. Or maybe I won't say necessarily change. I had to grow up a little bit more first. And I experienced a lot of firsts and whatnot with her, but again, the major thing was that communication. So I had to have a conversation with myself and know it's okay to be open with this person. You say you love this person, you want to be with this person, be all the way vulnerable with this person. Because I feel like that's what it was as to why I wasn't communicating as well. I didn't want to be fully vulnerable because I had other people that did hurt my feelings. I was young, but I had already tried to be with at least 2 other people and it didn't work. And I the way it felt when I did open up to them. So I think it was me recognizing essentially I need to get out my own way and just open my mouth and talk. Whether it, I mean, and it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen that same year, but it started off with me. Okay, no, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk this yet. Give me a moment. No, okay, well, let me just try to write it out first.
Mhm.
It was different ways, and she worked with me on it. And so now it's a thing of, okay, let me just tell you what's going on and why I was mad at you a few minutes ago. It's because you did this, and this, not in like that. And I done told you before not to do this, and this.
Mhm.
I did not do that many things.
Okay, this and this.
Just two thises, not four thises.
That's my answer.
Joy, do you have a short answer?
Yeah, I think the communication, but I also too, and I've said this to Jessica, I think a part of that was my fault too, because I recognized her family and the dynamic that she came from, and I also realized how sensitive Jessica could be. And I come from, I'm blunt. And so a lot of conversations I didn't have because I didn't want to hurt her feelings. And so, and I didn't, I guess I can say that I didn't require her to communicate. I just kind of let it go until it got to a point where you have to talk. And, you know, and that's kind of what led us to, so let's try to work around this. And then of course, you know, counseling, which is okay, you know, if you need, you know, a secondary, but I would say just, we had to learn how to communicate with each other effectively and what works for her and what works for me.
And you have two people that have come together in a household with two different backgrounds. So it takes time to mesh those backgrounds, those ideals. And they don't happen, like you said earlier, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But when the love is there, so love is enough. I mean, I cringe when people say love isn't always enough, because it should be.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So, and again, I say, as we end this segment, love isn't perfection. It's choosing each other through growth and change. This is Love in Motion as we end our second session. Come back next week so we can hear from Joy and Jessica about their growth and what they've learned. We've talked about it a little bit, but we're going to get a little bit deeper into their growth and what they've learned over the 20 plus years that they have been together. See you next week.
Steady